What if every push-up you've ever done has been leaving the majority of your gains on the table? Not some of them, most of them. Because here's the thing nobody tells you when you first drop down and start pushing. The push-up is one of the most technically demanding bodyweight exercises in existence, and almost everyone is doing it wrong. Not slightly wrong, fundamentally wrong. And the consequence isn't just missed muscle growth. It's shoulder impingement, wrist pain, a chest that never seems to develop, and a tricep that does all the work while your pecs barely show up to the party. In today's video, I'm going to break down exactly what you're doing wrong, why it's costing you serious results, and how to fix every single part of your push-up so that every rep you do from this point forward actually builds the body you're training for. Stick around until the end because I'll be giving you a complete push-up progression routine that replaces bad habits with a system that delivers real, visible upper body growth. Let's get into it. Let's start with the mistake that kills more push-up gains than anything else, and that's incorrect hand placement. Most people plant their hands too wide, too far forward, or turned completely flat with zero adjustment for their individual shoulder structure. And then they wonder why their shoulders ache and their chest never grows. Here's what you don't know. Your hand position directly determines which muscles are doing the work. Hands too wide shifts the load away from the triceps and into a compromised shoulder position that impinges the rotator cuff over time. Hands too far forward past your chest puts your shoulders into an internally rotated position under load, one of the most reliable ways to develop chronic shoulder pain. The correct starting position is hands slightly wider than shoulder width, positioned at mid-chest level, not at your face. Now here's the part most people completely skip. You should never press your palms flat and passive into the floor. Instead, grip the ground. Actively, spread your fingers. Press through the heel of your palm and your fingertips, and externally rotate your hands slightly as if you're trying to screw them outward into the floor. This one adjustment alone activates your rotator cuff, locks your shoulders into a stable position, and immediately increases how much force your chest can produce. Research in shoulder biomechanics shows that active external rotation during pressing movements significantly reduces rotator cuff stress while increasing pectoral muscle activation. Fix your hands first and every other part of your push-up gets better automatically. Now that your hands are in the right position, let's talk about the second mistake that's robbing you of gains of broken body line. Look at most people doing push-ups and you'll see one of two things. Either their hips are sagging toward the floor, dumping into a banana shape that loads the lumbar spine instead of the core, or their hips are picked up toward the ceiling, which completely unloads the chest and turns the movement into something closer to a modified downward dog than an upper body exercise. Both positions are destroying the effectiveness of every representative. The push-up is a full body movement. Your core, glutes, quads, and even your feet are all working. To maintain a rigid plank position from head to heel while your upper body does the pressing. When any part of that chain breaks, you leak force and the muscles you're trying to target stop working at their full capacity. Here's how to lock it in before you lower yourself for a single rep. Squeeze your glutes as hard as you can, brace your core by breathing into your belly and creating pressure throughout your midsection, and tuck your pelvis slightly so your spine is completely neutral. Hold that tension throughout the entire set, not just at the top throughout every single rep, including the hardest part of the descent. Studies comparing muscle activation in proper versus improper push-up form show that maintaining full body tension increases pectoral and tricep activation by a measurable margin compared to the same movement performed with a sagging or picked body line. Your push-up is only as strong as your weakest link. Make your body a rigid unit and your upper body finally gets the full stimulus it's been missing. Here's the third mistake, and this one is the reason your chest is underdeveloped. Even though you've been doing push-ups for years, you're not controlling the descent. Watch someone doing a set of 20 push-ups and count how long they spend going down versus coming up. In most cases, the descent takes less than half a second. There. Dropping, bouncing off the bottom position, and using that elastic rebound to pop back up. What they think is 20 reps of chest training is actually 20 reps of practicing how to fall and bounce. The eccentric phase of a movement, the lowering phase, is where the majority of muscle damage and subsequent growth stimulus occurs. Research in muscle hypertrophy consistently shows that slow, controlled eccentric contractions produce significantly greater muscle growth than fast, momentum-driven repetitions at the same weight. When you drop fast and bounce at the bottom of a push-up, you are bypassing the single most valuable part of the entire movement. The fix is straightforward but brutally humbling. Take 2 to 3 full seconds to lower yourself to the ground. Feel your chest stretching under load at the bottom. Pause for a full beat, then press back up with intent. You will do fewer reps, your ego will take a hit, but the muscle stimulus you get from 10 controlled reps will exceed what you were getting from 30 sloppy ones. Slow down the descent and you will feel your chest working in a way it probably never has before. The fourth mistake is one almost nobody addresses. Your elbow angle is wrong, and it's quietly destroying your shoulders. Most people flare their elbows out to 90 degrees or beyond, creating a T-shape with their arms when viewed from above. This position looks strong. It feels natural because it's what most people have always done. But it is one of the primary mechanical causes of shoulder impingement and anterior shoulder pain associated with pressing movements. Your elbows should track at roughly a 30 to 45 degree angle from your torso, not straight out to the sides and not fully tucked to your ribs. This angle aligns the force of the press with the natural mechanics of the shoulder joint, keeps the rotator cuff out of a compromised position, and shifts more of the load onto the lower chest fibers and triceps in a way that produces better overall upper body development. Think of it as the difference between a raw beginner pressing pattern and the way a seasoned athlete who has never had shoulder problems actually moves. Sports medicine research on shoulder injuries in pressing athletes repeatedly identifies excessive elbow flare as a primary mechanical risk factor. Fixing your elbow angle costs you nothing except the habit. Change it now before that habit turns into an injury that keeps you out of training. 4 months. Now let's put everything together into a push-up progression routine that actually builds your upper body the right way. Start every session with a 10-second active setup, hands at mid-chest, externally rotated and gripping the floor, glutes squeezed, core braced, body perfectly rigid, elbows preset at 45 degrees. Then perform 3 sets of push-ups with a 3-second controlled descent, a 1-second pause at the bottom, and a strong deliberate press back to the top. Start with whatever rep range allows you to maintain perfect form on every single rep, even if that means starting with 5, rest 90 seconds between sets. Once you can perform 3 sets of 15 with perfect form, elevate your feet to increase the load. Once you can do that for 15 reps, add a weight vest or a resistance band across your upper back. Progress the difficulty every 1 to 2 weeks. Do this routine 3 times per week. Within the first week, you will feel the difference in how your chest, shoulders, and triceps are actually engaging. Within a month, you will see the difference in your upper body development in a way that months of sloppy high-rep push-ups never produced. Most people will read this, nod along, and then drop down for their next set exactly the same way they always have. Because changing a deeply ingrained movement pattern is uncomfortable and humbling and requires slowing down in a culture that rewards going faster and doing more. But more of the wrong thing has never built anyone a better body. Every rep you do with bad mechanics is a rep that's straining your body to move incorrectly, building imbalances, and putting wear on joints that don't have an unlimited supply of resilience. You have a choice every single time you drop down for a push-up. Do it the way that feels familiar and keeps delivering the same results you've always gotten, or do it the right way with intention, with control, with the understanding that quality always beats quantity when it comes to building a body that is genuinely strong. The push-up is not a beginner exercise. It is one of the most powerful upper body tools in existence. It just needs to be treated that way. Start your next set differently. Your chest, your shoulders, and your long-term training career will all be better for it.